Hey, y'all, and welcome. You're listening to the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I'm your host, Dakota Dawn Johnson, small-town cowgirl with Southern roots, blazing a trail as a Midwest ranch wife, mama, and businesswoman. The mission of Cowgirl Confessions is to share the wonderfully wild and Western life stories of cowgirls from all walks of life. We'll talk about the highs, the lows, and everything in between when it comes to navigating careers, cowboys, kids, and cattle. Legendary cowgirl Dale Evans said it best: "Cowgirl is a pioneer spirit, a special brand of American courage. The cowgirl faces life head-on, lives by her own lights, and makes no excuses. Cowgirls take stands. They speak up. They defend the things they hold dear. A cowgirl might be a rancher, a barrel racer, a bull rider, or an actress, but she's just as likely to be a checker at the local Winn-Dixie, a full-time mother, a banker, an attorney, or an astronaut. If you're into wet saddle blankets, talks with God, buckets full of laughter, and the life lessons learned in the process, kick off your boots and settle in. I pray these stories encourage, empower, and give you just the leg up you need. Here's to embracing the cowgirl state of mind, no matter how wild and Western life may get along the way." Welcome to another episode of the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. It has been a long time coming for today's guest to join me. I am thrilled to introduce you to the Boot Babe, Ashley Jackson. Ashley, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Dakota. I'm excited.
Yes. Okay. So for the listeners that aren't familiar with the Boot Babe, you and all the things that you do, can you just share with them really how the idea of the Boot Babe was born and really what you get to do in that role?
Yeah, it's exciting. So I've had the Boot Babe for almost 20 years on social media. I will tell you, so I'm 37. I'm not too old and I'm not too young, but I did have no phone. And then I had a phone and I started Instagram when I was in high school. And now I'll have my 20-year class reunion. Give you an idea. This is a long time to be running social media.
Yes.
So the Boot Babe was born because I was a girl who loved cowboy boots. And originally I was a sales rep in the Western industry. I worked for Cowgirl Tough. I brought jeans to the Utah, Colorado, Wyoming states in the very first run of Cowgirl Tough jeans with Lisa Bolin. And it was an amazing story. And then I had some things happen in that industry, which were scary. There's just some things that are not secure in that industry, right? Like there's no job security. It doesn't matter how hard you work for someone, they have the right to let you go at any time. And sometimes if you work hard enough for a company, they get really excited or they have to figure it out. And it just makes sense numbers wise that you're not needed there anymore. So this happened to me a couple times. I would grow companies really big in territories, and then I would get let go, like on my way to market. There's some seriously devastating stories, actually. And I got really kind of gun shy of that. So I was like, okay, I need a more secure situation. And so I became a national sales manager for a leather and fur company. And I was selling leather and fur at the time. And I was thinking like, what could I do on social media that would be fun? And I took my Ashley Jackson profile and turned it into the Boot Babe. And I started using like the adventures of the Boot Babe to help me entertain people and edutain them, right? Because there's a lot of education behind Western wear that nobody knows about, right? How big is a calf size? How do people fit, jeans? How do you fit a sports coat? How does a hat fit? These were things that people weren't talking about and I wanted to talk about. So I developed this character. And then fast forward, I started selling a lot of quantities to like people that needed big bulk quantities. And I started realizing that there were a lot of people who had excess inventory and they needed to get rid of it. So I developed my specialty into helping people when they had mass quantities. And I learned that I could reach through the medium and I could invite them into whatever was going on live, and I could help people liquidate mass amounts of inventory. This was before Facebook was public.
Wow.
And I liquidated millions and millions of dollars of inventory. In fact, one company specifically in West Texas, and they had so much inventory, and I went in and liquidated it all within just a few weeks, millions of dollars in just a few weeks. And I knew I was on something. Then Facebook went public and everything changed. And I found myself knowing how to do certain things, but not knowing how to do others. And The Boot Babe found a partner that has a capital company, and he specializes in helping cowboy boot stores when they need to shut down and close. So, like if a 42-year-old Western store needs to close down, what do they do? Well, typically they don't have a lot of options.
Yeah.
And my partner has developed these options. And so I became the front, like the advertising part of the sales. So the Boot Babe comes to town and we help you close down your 42-year-old Western store, and we make it into a legacy and into something that people can remember forever and that leaves a lasting impression on the town, instead of just shutting the doors and running away, or shutting the doors and having millions of dollars of inventory, or whatever your situation is. Most people don't know they have an option in this industry. So now in 2023, 24, that's what the Boot Babe does, is she helps people get rid of excess inventory. And she does that in 100 different ways. But yeah.
Oh my gosh, Ashley, like I remember this. I'm learning so much today, because I remember the first time I ever saw you in a Western store doing this via social. And I was like, I know where she's at. She's in Beans Westernwear. She's in Ardmore, Oklahoma. Like that was a store that I sold to. And I was like, huh, like this is such a novel idea. And I love what you said there. Like helping them like create a legacy, not just shutting up the doors. And, like, I mean, so much work and energy and love has been put into these different businesses. And sometimes at the end of the day, the best thing that can happen for that family is to actually close the door. So like you're helping them do that in a way that is in such a positive manner. So I love what you're doing with the Boot Babe. Yeah, tell us more.
Well, I'll tell you what it's led to. So what it's led to is me understanding a significant amount about boots, because I am tapped into the majority of the Western manufacturers overstock. And they work directly with my capital partner to liquidate all that overstock. And so because they do that, I'm tapped into what's going on, and how the footbeds work, how the lasts work, how the shafts work, how the heights work. I watch hundreds of women try on thousands of pairs of boots over 80 days in a closing sale. And I have the most, like I'm my own walking app. I joke, right? Mm-hmm. You're like, I wear this in an area. I'm like, well, you wear this in a Freebird, and you wear this in a Dan Post, and you wear this in a Lucchese. And, just because I've seen enough repetitions of people trying them on. And this is where a lot of the companies are failing, right? Their return rates are really high because of their size problems and their disinformation and misinformation about how to size a boot. And people will just say, oh, wear whatever size you thought you were in the last one. No, wrong. Every single one has a different last. And until people understand that, their return rates are still going to be through the roof, and their customers' frustration is still going to be there. So that's interesting. And it has led me to like, how do I use this skill? Right. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Just so much there. Like you said, it really boils down to, I can hear it. Like you have a heart for that end consumer, that person you're working with, to make sure that they have the best experience possible. I mean, you're just delivering such a level of customer service that, wow, like so many details there. So I applaud you for that. I just think that's so cool. How can other people get involved? Because you're the Boot Babe, but then there are the Boot Babes.
Yeah, so the Boot Babes has evolved over time. And right now it's, we had a little sign up for a VIP, and I dissolved that because I'll tell you this, I have a group of women, about 500,000 women on an email list. This sounds crazy. They have two things in common. They love cowgirl boots, and they're seriously, fiercely committed to making sure that Western traditions carry on forever. And that includes a level of education that most people aren't comfortable with. So these women are like, they're like, I want to go out and I want to help people understand the Western legacy. I haven't quite figured out how to put that together yet, but I can tell you it's going to look like events, and it's going to look like education. And I love what you do, right? You educate people about certain skills that they need in order to have a life that works well and feels well. And at the end of the day, we're all selling something, right? And I tend to sell wellness because I didn't have my health at one point in life. So I've been on a health journey before, and that's led me to understand that cowgirl boots have brought me through my health journey. I didn't wear cowgirl boots than I did. I had way less confidence, way less I don't know, perseverance for life. And then I put cowgirl boots on and they changed my personality so significantly over the years that the boot babes have become this place where if you want a group of women who have your back and they care about your success, you come there and you get the monthly newsletter and you learn about where you might be able to be involved in your local community, where you could go dancing, like country dancing, learn how to country dance, where you could follow your passion in the Western traditions. You need to go horse riding. Do you need to learn about Ariat from you? There's so many ways to explore the Western traditions, but it is dying. And that sounds whatever. But the idea that we're going to lose these traditions is real unless we pass them on through this kind of a medium. Like I believe podcasting is the future of pointing and understanding stories, just like in the old times when they used to pass on stories. So that's kind of a wild tangent, but that's where the boot babes are right now. And that's how people, if they want to get involved, they can go to thebootbabes.com and we have fun things that you can be involved in there. You can sign up for the newsletter. I'm the boot babe on all of the social media platforms. So,
well, I did not feel like it was wild one bit. I was like along for the ride and totally there. And I think, just like you said, like the women that are already a part of this, like it's just to like building that community and camaraderie to where it's like, okay, when there is an event or there is something in my area, I want to know about it. And this is the best way to do that. Get on the newsletter, get the updates. And hey, who doesn't love a good pair of cowboy boots? I mean, come on.
Yeah, and we give away a pair usually every month. We have a couple of different boot sponsors, and I've worked with all of the brands to do something at some level, and I want to work with them more. I can see the need for the edutainment coming up, and so I'm propositioning myself out there, saying like, if you need edutainment for your business, I'm the woman to talk to, right? There's a lot of influencers that are influencing people to buy shit. Well, buy shit's great, but what if they return shit? And I'm being so candid, right? Like you have to, people want to buy a story and they want to buy a legacy piece that they're going to feel like they are connected to for the rest of their living life. That's what the Western industry is about. It's not a fly by night, let's buy a billion pieces of something. It's just not that way. Even though it does look like it sometimes. We do look like high consumers, right? Shein and all these things are like blasting out there that this is what the Western industry is. And actually, if you look at Ariat, they're more aligned with what the Western industry is more than ever, right? They have some different departments and they're working through that. But Beth sees that vision and she's one of the only ones. A lot of these other companies, though, are still privately owned, right? Warren Buffett owns the majority of the cowboy boot companies. I mean, if we don't know that, let's just disclose that, right? Yeah. So Justin, Tony Lama, H.H. Brown, all these companies are owned by Mr. Buffett. And Mr. Buffett's not my next door neighbor. He doesn't know my consumer very well. He might think he understands it, but at the end of the day, it's a money game for him. And those brands might go away. Just like some of the, like Nakona, some of the Justin brands have gone away since he's become the owner. And that's not something I want to see. So I'm not saying like, I don't like him. I'm saying that I'd like to see some more sustainability and some more brands understand what it means to develop a relationship with their customer for a long term, because there's a lot of new people making cowboy boots. And I love Ariat, and there's always going to be room for people in their creativity.
Every once in a while, when I meet somebody new, they'll say, Dakota, where are you from? And I love having the opportunity to say, I grew up in a small town in rural Alabama. Now, whether you have small town roots or dream of one day trading in the city life for a little slower pace, or maybe you just enjoy an occasional weekend getaway where you can actually see the stars at night. Whatever your version of living the small town life looks like, my friends at thesmalltownlife.com, they have you covered with comfortable and unique ball caps and graphic tees that the entire family will love. Be sure to go follow them on Instagram and Facebook and use the hashtag #TheSmallTownLife when you're out there doing the small town living.
Yes. Okay. You touched on a few things there that I want to unpack. First, I love the way you're using the word edutainment. So break that down for somebody who hasn't heard that before and what visually that means to you versus someone that's just educating or just entertaining.
Okay, so I am going to release a book about this, and that's exciting. Maybe I wasn't going to call it Western edutainment, but I might. There is a difference, and our end consumer, right? reality TV that's scripted sucks. And we know that. And we're seeing the decline in people watching that. They want reality. They want, unfortunately, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, like that whole thing is reality. That's not scripted. That's reality. People want this so much. And they also need education. And we're seeing that because Joe Rogan, right? We're seeing that because these people that are actually educating people about themselves, about their communities, about certain different things, right? So bringing that together is the future of sales and understanding your customer. That's what they're yearning for. They want to be heard and seen and entertained. And at the same time, they want to leave with something like, what's in it for me? And they're not going to buy unless they understand that, especially going forward in the future. That 25 to 35 demographic, they're like, what's in it for me? How can you help me? How can you entertain me? And how can you educate me? Because that's what everyone else is doing. That's why I'm where I'm at right now. Because most of them are super savvy, super smart. They've had tech for a long time. Some of them have made a lot of money online already. So it's a different demographic. And then you have like 35 to 45, right? And they want to be educated and entertained, and they want to feel accepted. They want to understand that what they're doing is totally okay. You can wear whatever you want all the time. And here's some ideas of what to wear. And you also want to see your kids, and like, you have a really great edutainment platform, right? You have a family and kids, and you are entertaining as heck. And you're also educating all the time. You're educating people. You're telling them like, look, sales is serious. Like, take this shit serious. I swear a lot, but you're much more like there's a personality for everyone. And I think that's what the Boot Babes has become about, is like, how do I shine the best light on you and make you look like the best person that you are, because you are that person. And I want to share that with the world, right? That's what these interactions have become about for me. And that's what everyone should learn from and do. Like, you should take a lesson from that if you're listening to this, and be a girl's girl, because the worst feeling in the world is when someone doesn't include you, goes out of their way to make you feel like you're less than someone. Like, the worst feeling in the world is to not be included and to not feel like you're part of something. And everyone knows that. And this industry specifically has a lot of things that I've been able to keep far away with the Boot Babes, right? And that's been really fun and helpful. And that comes with edutainment. That comes with the determination to be educating every single moment of the day. Like, what I'm doing is a role model for someone. Someone's going to act just like me. Do I want them to act like this? Yes. There's some people, no.
Gosh, I so appreciate like candid, very straightforward conversation, Ashley, because it is like that's one of the best parts, I feel like, of podcasting. And when you said earlier about this being kind of like the olden days, where people hand down stories, that's really, how this podcast really came to be. Like, I was like, I want these women that have this hard-earned knowledge, like, if they're willing to share it, I want it to be available literally for years to come, not stacked away. Like, don't get me wrong, I love a good book and stuff, but like, I want it in the ears of anyone who's eager to listen and learn and try to better themselves. And so it's just incredible to have people like you here on the podcast that are on a mission, like really on a mission to make a positive impact, not just in the Western industry, but in the world.
Well, thanks. And, it's interesting. I've had a lot of advice over the years. And one of the things that I got the other day, just 2 weeks ago, from an 83-year-old woman, I said, what's your best advice for me? And she said, don't give advice. People have their own answers. And just remember, everyone's in it for themselves, even if you don't believe that. And it's okay. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy advice from an 83-year-old woman. But she was so clear. She's like, don't give advice to people. And I was like, I love that, because I believe people have their own answers. And I believe that if you hold enough space and ask the right questions, that people are going to tell you, their problems and their solutions all at the same time, and you can help them that way. And I think that's what service is about. And that's what industry is built on, is people that are very selfless in that kind of service, and that they do become a conduit, right? It's very a God thing. It's very spiritual. And we do have those connections. So I think I'm saying this because I do want to create some kind of in-person experience that's like facilitated by us in the future, and try to get all the women there. I saw the Cowgirl Museum thing yesterday, right? And I had a couple girls that were down there for the Cowgirl Hall of Fame and this thing that's in Fort Worth. And I love that. And I understand it and I appreciate it. And I love all those women there. And there is a necessity for women that are watching all those women to get together and
Yes.
be nourished and be led and be fed. And it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be religious. It doesn't have to be, it needs to be cowgirl. It needs to
Yeah.
be, from a place of heart. So think about that.
Yeah, I absolutely. I saw that too. And I think you bring up such a great point there is we see that in like that event and like the who's and plus like all these people that were like, man, I wish I could be in the room with them. But unfortunately, we can't all be in Texas or somewhere all at the same time. But how great would it be to say, we're going to have like a tour, like we're coming to these different spots, in a city near you and be able to kind of meet people where they are. Because the reality is not everybody can get away and travel, whether it's funding or availability or you got kids at home or whatever. So I just think there is a need for more events like that, where people are gathering, like you said. So we'll definitely have to, talk, get our minds together about that for the future. And actually, you were talking about asking great questions, and I have a couple more for you as we wrap this up. So NFR is coming up. You have been to the NFR, what did you say, 20 years straight now?
Oh man, a lot of years. Yeah.
A lot
More
of
than
years.
15.
Yeah. So, what are you most looking forward to this trip to the NFR? And what advice would you have for someone who's never been before?
If you've never been before, I would do it all because I would try and do it all because you're never going to see it again. So things change at the NFR every year and it's always a little bit different, even if they tell you it's not. It is. The venues are different. The people are different. What you're going to experience is different. And so there's always going to be too much to do. And there's always going to be like overwhelming amount. But if you can handle, I don't know if you're drinking or not drinking. So there's like two ways to do NFR. There's like the way of like alcohol and then the way of like no alcohol. And that's a real thing. If you're going to drink alcohol, you have to like figure out how to pace yourself because there's like, that's an unlimited alcohol place and you can definitely have some problems there. If you're not going to do alcohol though, you can get up early and go to the trade shows in the morning, which is the best time because they're the least busy. The afternoon and the trade shows is just packed like a crazy house. This is like best advice you could give anyone. Don't take an Uber anywhere after 2. And don't take it. And if you're trying to go to the rodeo, I suggest you get there really early and you take probably an Uber to get there. Like don't park at the rodeo. You'll never get out. What else can I tell you? No, I'm most excited because this year I think that I'm going to go down and I get to showcase a few different women that I love. And I'm going to interview and do some podcasts. And I'm not sure how long I'm going to be down there. There's a couple different things going on, but this year I'm really excited to kind of relax and not have any responsibilities. The economy is really, really, really interesting right now. And I'll tell you this, there are hundreds and hundreds of stores that I know of with lots and lots of excess inventory, not because they want to have it, just because they over ordered in their really plentiful year of 2021, 2020. They had got excited, they over ordered, and they're sitting on a lot of inventory. So I don't expect sales to be extremely strong this year. And I say that very transparently. And I also like if someone needs help or they need things like I've seen 2 or 3 booths come up available down there. There's a lot of room for growth. Like this will be the best time ever. If you have something that you know is working and that you should go down and get exposure for sure. This is the best time to have the most amount of eyeballs in people that love what you love.
Hopefully we'll get to see each other while I'm there for a couple of days. I'm really excited. I haven't been in 7 years and it'll be a quick trip, but like you said, it changes every year and there's so much to see. And I feel like Old Vegas is where I stayed my first year and then like moved up kind of uptown and was like at the Hard Rock or Flamingo and just it's so different depending on where you stay and kind of that crowd you're with, but it's all very, very memorable.
Yeah, you could stay at the South Point. I know Shaylee West Desperado's at the Virgin Hotel. She's still advertising like you get $50 gift card with her thing. There's like MGM always has rooms. I know the Stratosphere has a big thing. I know that the Horseshoe Casino that's like in the old part of downtown that has the Roper convention. Things have changed around this year, so it's exciting.
Yeah, that is awesome. Look forward to seeing you there. And so, Ashley, at the end of every episode, I wrap it up by asking each of our guests, what does the cowgirl state of mind mean to you? Because that's really, this whole podcast is about encouraging women from all walks of life to really embrace the cowgirl state of mind. That Dale Evans quote, just so legendary. So, friend, what does it mean to you?
Determination and perseverance. And these are muscles. And this sounds crazy, but there is a dedication to yourself of determination and perseverance. And it's like a formula. And that really defines your ability to handle risk and your ability to handle rejection. And this is where the cowgirl state of mind, when you work on those muscles, I call it like you become like an outlaw. Cowgirl, you are untouchable when you build those kind of muscles. And that's what being in this community will teach you, is how to be gritty and perseverant. And that's what the women that you want in your circle, that's what you want them saying to you is, I know that I am gritty and perseverant and that I can do this and that I've got this, right? That's who you want to learn from and who you want to be friends with.
What just a meaningful, wonderful answer. I mean, they're all so unique to us what that means, but I couldn't agree with you more. And I love watching you flex both of those. You do. You can see it, and just so proud of you.
Well, so I will tell you, I'm a real cowgirl. I grew up on a horse ranch with 50 horses. My dad does pack clinics, right? And I grew up riding a horse. I mean, I can rope you and drag you around if you need, and I can go branding and I can do all these things. And I also am very aware that there is a cultural necessity to invite people into our culture. And so I come off of as a very city cowgirl a lot. And I want people to be curious about me, and I want them to come up to me and get to know me. I want to invite them into this circle because this circle needs to grow. It's necessary for us to stay alive. This is where food comes from.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. And it's, sometimes I find myself, even Ashley, I'm like, well, am I still cowgirl enough? It's kind of like that little haunting thought. And then I'm like, girl, yes, you are. Like, just because, you haven't entered a rodeo in 6 years since you started having kids and like all the things like that doesn't define you. I'm just in a different stage of what being a cowgirl looks like for me. And I'm okay with that. But I think it's important that people know, just like you shared, like you have to like mentally, get on board with that idea that we don't fit in a box. Like being a cowgirl is really just about embracing that state of mind. And whether you own a horse or you don't, like we welcome you.
Yes. And there's a level of confidence that comes when you wear cowgirl boots that changes everything. So yes, we welcome you. Thanks, Dawn.
Absolutely. So
Dakota.
Ashley,
I call you Dawn because you remind me of the sunshine, really.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That's my brand. It's like the dawn, like a sunshine. My mom like drew that brand for me when I was in high school, and it's like turned into my legit brand. So I love that. Thank you. Where can everybody go to connect with you, Ashley? Keep up with what's going on with the Boot Babe and the Boot Babes.
Yeah, so Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, thebootbabes.com. all of those places. And it's at the Boot Babe, at the Boot Babes. There are some fake profiles out there. So just make sure you don't do anything crazy. Don't give money to people that you don't know. Don't do things like that. But really, that's something to tell you because there's a ton of influencers out there who, they want the best for you, but don't do crazy things. Yes, the Boot Babe and the Boot Babes, thebootbabes.com.
Awesome. I'll put it all in the show notes. Ashley, I've so enjoyed this. Thank you. And just, I'm going to continue to just, pray for what you're doing and just the legacy that you're leaving.
Thanks, Dakota.
Thank you for spending your time with me on the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I'm so glad y'all stopped by. If you could take a moment to share this episode and tag us on social media, I'd be happier than a cowgirl in a sea of buy one, get one vintage turquoise. Subscribe to make sure you don't miss an episode. New episodes will be released bi-monthly. Please leave us a review if you feel so led by going to iTunes. Your feedback will really help us breed the idea of grabbing life by the horns with a cowgirl state of mind into women across the globe. Some that may have never even had the privilege to throw their leg over a horse, but could most certainly use the cowgirl state of mind while navigating life. Thanks again, y'all. Until next time, keep pursuing your dreams with that all go and no woe mentality. Remember, you're writing a story that's worth saddling up for, sister.